No plan survives contact with real life, especially when you're a dad. Your kid gets sick, you're up all night, and suddenly a perfect training week gets thrown out the window. So, how do you adjust without losing momentum or beating yourself up? That's what we're going to be diving into on today's episode of the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. Super excited to have you here today. Thanks for tuning in. And again, today's topic that we're going to be going over is how I adjust my training when my kid is sick or maybe even her sleep schedule is off. Now, before I dive into today's episode, I like to go over anything that's going on personal life when it comes to fitness, nutrition, or anything that I think that you may find interesting. So, hopping into today's episode, something that I thought was a little interesting was driving to the gym one day last week. I believe I was driving to the gym. It was one of my two early morning sessions that I have. So I was up and getting to the gym for 4:50, or getting up at 4:15, getting to the gym for a little bit before 5, and noticed that there was a farmer already out in the field plowing away and working before the sun was even up. So for me, it was just like, wow, like I'm putting work in the gym. He's putting work into the farm that he's obviously tending to, getting the fields ready, hoping to plant and then reap the harvest in the fall. So I just thought that was interesting that there's all sorts of walks of life of people doing interesting things early in the morning, whether it's myself where I'm going to the gym or whether this was this, man or woman that was already, technically tilling the land and getting it ready to hopefully harvest and then, reap those rewards in the fall. Hopefully I'm speaking correctly. I'm obviously not a farmer, but again, something that I thought was interesting. Last Friday did a 12-mile run, which was nice. That's the longest run that I've done in probably quite a while now. I've done a bunch of 10-mile runs, but for me, I didn't see it necessarily advantageous to go farther than that. I wasn't really training for anything specific. I do have a half marathon coming up next month, and I know if I can do 10 miles, I can do 13 miles, so I kept it around there. And I'm just like wanted to see how a 12-mile run felt, and felt good. I know, obviously you get to the end of it and legs are feeling a little stiff, a little tight, but like if I can go 12, I know that I can go 13, and I know what to expect when I'm going out there and going on these runs. So excited about getting that long run in. I got a pretty bad blister on my foot, and it was interesting. So I got this. It was a good sized blister. It was probably about an inch by an inch. I can I could feel coming on throughout the run. It was very hot. It was very humid when I was running. I bought these specific socks that are supposed to allow your foot to not blister, but obviously that wasn't the case. But nonetheless, still got out there, still finished. And then Saturday went for a 5 mile run. Felt it a little bit, but not too bad. And then by Monday was out running again, and really the blister really just wasn't feeling the blister anymore, which is pretty interesting because you'd think like if it's this big on Friday, by Monday it wouldn't be gone. I didn't pop it or anything. It just went away on its own, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining, but I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that. Took our daughter to a Red Sox game yesterday, first game that she's ever been to. That was super exciting. That threw off the training schedule a little bit. We drove from where we live, which is about 2.5 hours away from Boston, and back in the same day. Got back last night about 1 a.m. So I think it's perfect for this episode, which is how I adjust my training when my kid is sick or sleep is off. I mean, for me, if I go to bed at 1 a.m., I don't want to be getting up at like 4:15 a.m. and going to the gym. So I'm going to adjust my schedule workout just for this one specific day where I'm going to bed like, whether it be 4 hours later than when I normally go to bed. And the last thing that I want to touch on before we hop into today's episode is, and I've talked about it a little bit before on previous episodes, but I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to go for it. So it was trying to go for a 400-pound deadlift. So I got up to 375, and I feel as though I was more, I wouldn't say burnt out, but just getting up every Monday morning going to do deadlifts, and the next morning deadlifts, and the next Monday deadlifts. I felt as though I needed a little mental break from it. So then I started doing hex bar deadlifts, did those for a few weeks. Those were kind of a pain to load the weights on. What's nice about my gym is they have this little contraption where you put the barbell on. You have the barbell on the ground. You kind of scoop it up into it. You can put the weights on the side, and then you push it forward, and it'll drop the barbell off with all the weights, and then you scoop it back up. So it's nice and easy. It's very nice and easy to take the plates off the barbell. Well, when I do hex bar deadlift, I don't have that capability, so it's kind of honestly just a pain. Not something I wanted to do every single week. So I was like, okay, like what am I gonna do? So then I went back to deadlifting about probably 2-3 weeks ago now. I decided trying to do like 4 or 5 reps. I was just doing 8 reps, so it'd be like 315 for 8, and I would just do that. And then this past Monday, I just did 315 for 8, or I did 315 for 7 this time. And I was like, okay, let me go up a little further, see how it feels. And then I did 335 for 6. Then I did 365 for 5. And I think last time I had done 365 for 4. So I'm like, okay, like let's go even further. The most I'd ever deadlifted before this was 375 for 3. Went up to 385, and I usually just do 4 sets. Did 385 for 3. I was like, well, I'm 15. I mean, I have all this weight already loaded onto the bar. I just need 15 pounds to get to 400, which would be a 5 and 2.5s on either side. I'm like, let's just go for it. I mean, again, I usually only do 4 sets of deadlift. I'll do a warm up set, and I'll do the four actual working sets, and then that's it. But I was like, might as well try for it again. I'm 15 pounds away from it, and of course, I got the 1 rep. I was trying to do my 1 rep max, just literally just looking to do 1 rep, and did it. 400-pound deadlift, so super ecstatic. It was like whatever else happened in the workout, like nothing was gonna feel as good as hitting that 400-pound deadlift. And then later in the day, or a little bit later, went off and ran 6 miles. So that was interesting. That was interesting on top of it. But that's a little bit what's going on in my life. Some things that I'm working through, some things that I've been encountering. But let's kick off today's episode, which is, again, how I adjust my training when my kid is sick or sleep is off. This topic matters because being a dad means adapting on the fly. There's going to be circumstances that come up. My daughter is sick. She's home from daycare. Maybe her sleep is off where she doesn't have a good night's sleep. We ran into an issue where luckily it hasn't happened since, and knock on wood, but she would throw up in the middle of the night, and it happened 2 or 3 different times over like a 2-week period. Luckily, not every night, but instances like that where she would have a hard time falling back asleep, and next thing you know, we're up from 11 p.m. to 3, 4 a.m. with her. It's like, okay, now how do I adjust my running schedule and my workout schedule, because sleep is so important to rest and recovery and not burning out, especially when you're going out there and being a hybrid athlete where you're someone that's doing strength and some sort of cardio on the back end. You really need to have good quality sleep. So if you're not getting that good quality sleep, how much should you be pushing yourself? Should you just do a normal workout? So that's why I want to be talking about it in today's episode for you. And like I talked about before, is that even, again, recently had a week where my daughter was sick. She was home from daycare. Typically, I run after I drop her off at daycare. Now she's home. My wife and I are trying to work from home. Now she's here, and sometimes she's independent and she'll play on her own. But for the most part, she wants either my wife or I to be playing with her, so she's not that independent. So we're constantly having to be with her. And again, that's not a bad thing or anything like that, but when we have to get work done throughout the day and when we're working, it just makes it a little bit, throws a little bit of a curveball in the day, shortens up how much time we can work. And it comes down to more where my wife's on meetings, I handle, take care of our daughter. When I'm on meetings, my wife will take care of our daughter. So there's not as much time to get my my workouts in. So I'm consistently having to adjust. And really, the goal I have for today's episode is that I want to give you practical strategies to adjust without quitting or feeling like you're falling behind, because when you have a kid, it just now there's someone else that you have to protect, there's someone else that you have to take care of, and there's someone else that comes first. So when that happens, I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm neglecting myself and I'm falling behind, because that's not the case at all. I want you to recognize some of the warning signs. When my daughter is sick, everything changes. This goes again to my sleep patterns, where now maybe my sleep is broken up. So instead of getting 8 straight hours, I'm getting 2 hours here, 3 hours there, an hour here, and 2 hours there. And I can tell my stress levels are typically up because it's more stressful. I'm not just being able to sit down and work for 8 hours a day. Maybe I have to cram 8 hours a day of work into 3 or 4 hours. So it just makes it a little bit more stressful than if my daughter was at her typical daycare. My energy, maybe I'm more exhausted because I didn't sleep good. Maybe we're going on a couple days in a row where we're not getting good quality sleep as a family. So everything changes within the house when our kid is sick or sleep is off. Sleep deprivation is real, and I don't want anyone to tell you otherwise. If I'm up half the night, if I'm up 11 to 3 or 12 to 4, 1 to 4, I'm not going to push so hard the next day. I look at it more as a maintenance phase where I'm like, okay, I just want to maintain what I had done the prior week. And then hopefully the next week when I get a good quality sleep, I'm going to push myself harder. So this could be an example of, let's say I am doing deadlifting. I talked about it earlier in today's episode. So I deadlifted, same time to go 315 for 8 or 7. Let's say 8. So 315 for 8. So I did that this week. And then following week, my daughter sleeps terrible or she's sick. I'm not feeling great. I'm just going to try and maintain a 315 for 8. And then the following week, try to do the progressive overload. Maybe I'm doing either 315 for 10, or maybe I go up and do 325 for 8. Whatever that may be, I pull back and like I know I'm gonna be in the gym tomorrow. I'm gonna be in the gym next week. That's when I'm gonna be pushing myself. So I like to just pull myself back a little bit. You have to listen to yourself, whether that's having a elevated heart rate, whether that's being sore, whether that's being your mood, maybe you're grumpy, maybe you're just not a joy to be around. This all tells me to back off. I know that I'm not going to stop going to the gym. I'm always going to go to the gym. I'm always going to be running and I'm always going to be working out. But if there's this instance where maybe for a day or two I have to back off a little bit because I'm not being myself, then I do so for the greater good in the long run. And the danger of ignoring these signs is that it can lead to overtraining, it can lead to illness, it can lead to injury. I can tell you there's been not so many, but there's instances where I can look where I didn't sleep good for a few nights in a row, say 2 or 3 nights in a row. I'm getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep, half of what I would typically want. I'm going to the gym, I'm pushing myself, overexerting, and I'm not getting out sleep and recovery. My immune system is weakened. I pick something up. Maybe I get a bad cold. Maybe I get the flu. Maybe I get the stomach bug. Something that is just, not pleasant to be around. And that can happen so much. So I'm like, okay, like if I'm not feeling great, why am I going to push myself so hard and just further, further delay my recovery? I'd rather, again, figure out, okay, like what can I do today, even though I'm not feeling 100%, but that's not going to burn me out. That's not going to make myself injured. Now, what I like to do is modify the week that I have. So sometimes it might be my running schedule. So what that might look like is I typically on an average week, I do 5 miles, 6 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, 2 miles, or 5 miles. So we're looking at 5 on Monday, 6 on Tuesday, 5 on Wednesday, none on Thursday, 10 on Friday, 5 on Saturday. So average week, 30 miles. Well, sometimes something might come up where I have to modify how much I am running. So maybe on Monday I do 3, Wednesday I do, or Tuesday I do 3, Wednesday I do 6, Thursday I do 5, Friday I do whatever the number may be. I find that works best for me. Hopefully our daughter is not sick throughout the entire week. Hopefully it's only a day or two where she's having a hard time sleeping or again being sick. So if I do that, I'm going to modify how much I am running to accommodate where I'm like, okay, if I go out and do a 3 mile run, so we're talking say 25 to 30 minutes, it's a little bit easier to get a little bit more time to do that when my daughter's home than trying to go off and do a 6, 7, 8 sort of mile run. And then what I do is when I'm going to the gym, instead of being there for an hour and a half or an hour, I try to cut back a little bit. So maybe instead of doing 4 sets, I'll do 3 sets. And I'll just, again, I'm just trying to be consistent with what I had done the week prior. But again, it can be a challenge from time to time because again, I have a limited time. I'm not feeling as great. So how much do I want to be pushing myself at the gym and running? And sometimes it's just adapting to what's going on around me. You really have to have the flexibility in your weekly structure. And for me, it's hard because I'm very structured. I want to work out at the same time. I want to run at the same time. I want to eat the same meals throughout the week. So I like to be very structured in my life and in my running. But I know, okay, like if my daughter is sick, if she's not having great sleep, then today I'm okay. I'm gonna maybe I push my tougher workout to later in the week. So instead of deadlifting on Mondays, I deadlift on Friday, and then maybe I skip it the following Monday, so because it would only be like say 2 days rest in between. I pick up the following week, so a little bit more time in between than I would like, but I'm still being able to do it in that given week. Or maybe I started to pick up a schedule where I do it every single Friday. So I do like to push my tougher workouts later in the week, depending on how much time that I have available to me and just getting that feedback from my body. I like to prioritize my sleep and recovery over hitting a schedule. Again, I like to be very structured, I like to be very regimented, but in this instance, again, where our daughter is sick, she's having lack of sleep, and just it makes it a little bit more difficult to stay within my usual schedule. So I know instead of me getting 4 hours of sleep and hitting the gym, maybe I just get the 8 hours of sleep that my body actually needs. Maybe I do an at-home workout, maybe a 15, 30-minute workout or something along those lines. I know it a long time ago in a previous podcast episodes, I talked about there's this gentleman I found on YouTube where I had a procedure at the dermatologist. They said not to do anything too strenuous for a week after the procedure. I ended up finding his YouTube videos and doing at home like body weight type of workouts. So things like that. I want you to sort of take on, and I hate to say it, but it's like the minimum effective dose mindset. What's the most that I can do today in the short period of time that I have? So maybe it's 20 or 30 minutes of movement. So maybe that's me going in and usually I'm doing, 5 back exercises. Maybe I'm just doing deadlifts and I'm doing lat pull downs. And that's what I'm getting out of my 20 or 30 minutes at the gym today. And again, I don't want you to be caught up in this mindset and have it all the time and be like, okay, I'm going to start treating myself at the gym. It's like, no, like this is what's going on now. And then I know next week I'm going to be, I'm going to pick up and I'm going to go back to those 5 back exercises that I typically do on a weekly basis. It's about focusing on the long-term consistency, not just the single session. Like it feels like for me, like this is the end of the world right now I'm not going to be able to make the gym. I'm not going to be able to get my workout in. Maybe I'm not getting my full workout in. But knowing like this is literally like one workout out of the, I don't know, let's say I go 5 days a week and there's 52 out of the 250 workouts. Like there's just this one workout that I'm doing right now where I have to shorten it for the greater good of the family. Am I really going to notice that out of the 250 workouts that I'm doing in a given year? Most likely no. So when I think of it like that, it's like, okay, like even though I'm not doing the full exact workout that I want to be doing today, I'm going to be back in the gym, whether that's the following week or the next week. I'm going to be doing the same exact routine that I had, and I'm focusing on that long term consistency. I want you to drop the all or nothing mentality. One missed session isn't a failure. If you have to go and you have to shorten your session again, it isn't a failure. I mean, and I was in this mindset for so long. Was like, if I don't get to the gym today, I'm a failure. Like on the flip side, like I'm taking care of my family. I'm being there for my family. They should be the ones that are most important, not just myself and working out. Where I'm so dedicated to going to the gym and health and fitness, but I also have to be there and to take care of my family. And if I happen to miss one session to be there for my family, that's not an indictment on me. That's not a failure. That's just a fact of life. The goal is to stay in motion, not be perfect. If my life was perfect, I would be going to the gym 5 days a week, same time every single week. I'd be getting 8 hours of sleep every night. I'd be eating clean every single meal. But no, life's not perfect. And there's going to be instances that come up where, again, our daughter is sick. I didn't expect it. Sometimes we send her to daycare and they send her back home an hour later, even though I thought she was fine in the morning, but they tell us that she has a fever. And like things like that that you just don't anticipate at all. What I try to remind myself is that this season, this day is temporary. That what I'm going through right now as a family, it's not going to be forever. There's times where we have months in a row where we have normal weeks and I'm going through my routine and nothing is out of whack. And then there's other weeks where everything is out of whack. And you just never know when that's going to happen. And again, that's just going to be the reality of life, especially when you have a kid. I don't want to say a kid, a child, son or daughter. I think that just sounds a little bit better. Adaptability is a part of being a strong dad. I don't want to be like, oh, okay, you take care of our daughter. I'm going to be going to the gym for an hour and a half. Oh, I'm going to sleep in. Plus, I'm going to go to the gym. Like, we're together as partners, my wife and I, and we're taking care of our daughter together. And that means an equal and fair treatment where I'm not be like giving my wife all the load and then I get to go out and go to the gym and go on these runs. And it's just finding that balance between the two of us. And again, that goes back to that adaptability that you have. And again, it's just such a big part of being a strong dad. How I stay positive in times where my whole workout routine is thrown off is I like to meditate and I like to journal for about 10 to 15 minutes. So I've been meditating for quite a while now, and I find it really helps to ground me. So I'll meditate for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much my mind is racing. And then after I'm done meditating, I sit there and I journal. So I'll write down 3 things that I am grateful for and why I'm grateful for them. And then I'll go into, from there, why I'm gonna be playing like a champion today. And it's funny, it's almost like I see that sign at Notre Dame football where it says play like a champion today. It's something that I'd worked on with a mindset coach where when I'm going through my journaling, why am I playing like a champion today? What am I doing to become the best version of myself today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, just today. To also stay positive, I recognize that this is the example that I want to set for my daughter. I want her to know that I'm going to be there for her when things just aren't going right in life and that she is my priority. Obviously, health and fitness are a priority, but when she's sick and something's wrong with her, that is now my priority, is getting her back to feeling 100%, because that's my role as a father, is taking care of her needs and supporting her in every way possible. The last thing that I want to touch on in today's episode is that talking with your partner, whether that's your wife, whether that is your husband, and talking to them and just going through, hey, can I shift my workout time tomorrow if you take the morning routine? Oh, is it okay if I go running at the end of the day? Is it okay if I go to the gym at this point of the day and you take care of our daughter? And just trying to find the common ground. So with my wife, that might be, when do you have meetings? When do I have meetings? Okay, is it okay if I fit this 30-minute run in during this hour of the day? And just having that communication. It's asking for help when needed. Sometimes it's just okay to say, hey, I need a 30 minutes to just reset, whether that's meditating, whether that's journaling, whether that's just reading a book, and that it's not selfish to prioritize a little self care. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes you a better dad. You don't want to be burning all your bridges, you don't want to be going full throttle and burning yourself out. So it is important to take time to take care of yourself, even when there's instances, again, where your son or daughter is sick or their sleep schedule is thrown out of whack. What I want you to take away from today's episode is that life as a dad is unpredictable, and your training schedule should reflect that. It's all about learning to adjust intensity, timing, and your mindset without guilt. Your fitness isn't built in a week, it's built in how you respond to hard weeks. Because I missed a session today, am I going to skip out on the session next week, or the following week, or the week after that? Your answer should be no. It's being consistent, and if I have to go a little bit lighter this week or work out a little bit less this week, it's not going to take away from the following week and what I'm able to get done. The final message that I want to leave you off with is that when things are off, simplify, move, recover, and stay in the game. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode on the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast, and I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss how to stay active while traveling with family.